Live and local morning radio, coming to you from the studios of Magic Broadcasting on Laird. This is the Kramer Show. This is the Kramer Show. The phone is now open, and the phone operators are standing by. Turn down your radio when you call. Pay attention and be ready to go. 850-233-9988.
I said, if you're having the best time of your life right now, nigga, yes, sir.
This is Kramer. Kramer.
Scott Major joins us. Scott is on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Scott Major of Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. With their website, stormhelpteam.org, 844-800-LAWS. If you want to get on the air, you got a question you want to ask him, 850-233-9988, 850-233-9988. Mr. Scott Major, good morning to you.
How you doing today, pal?
I am doing all right. Got some rain. We're going to have rain for the next, like a week. We're going to have solid. It's going to be like Seattle around here.
Wow.
And we need it. So welcome to the massive front that's coming through. How are you? What's going on? Been busy, I'm sure. I hear your name. You have no idea how often I hear your name. You have done a remarkable, not to suck up to you, but I'm being honest. You have done a remarkable job of breaking through the clutter. And you do that because you're not coming on the air hard selling people. You come on the air, you're a real human being. You have worked on the insurance side. You've been through that. You know the game. You don't sound like a robot. Your heart is in the right place. I've talked to so many people that have used you that have said, I am so glad that I heard him on the air one morning and I was fed up. And I said, you know, what the hell? I'm going to call. I'm going to see what happens. And they call up. They have an awesome experience. And that just says volumes. And my check should be in the mail after that.
Sure. I tell you, that's the best opening since I have met you that I have heard. It is really, really wonderful that people think that what I've done is making a difference and that their lives are better, and sometimes hard to quantify the value of peace of mind or the value of getting your life back or the value of getting your property rebuilt a lot sooner than you would have, because, we got involved and helped you. And that is certainly really, really great news to hear. And I hope that people continue to take advantage of, the intelligence that can be brought to them, so that they, make more aggressive efforts towards getting their property rebuilt, because we still have challenges out there. And so many of the listeners, get a chance to get some education. And I know that next week you and I are going to be, on the radio live together. And, I think it's important for the listeners to know that, we're going to be there physically. And, if you want to have, a lunch set up somewhere, pick your favorite restaurant. We can get any and all the listeners to come and talk to me all day long for free at whatever favorite place that you want to tout. And can even give more information out to them in a much more relaxed and exciting environment.
We can certainly do that. We can set that up. There's plenty of great places around here that would allow us to be there, and to be able to do that and be able to sit down one-on-one. I'm sure that is so much better, because you can sit there and answer people's questions face to face. It's probably more effective. One of the things you just said that stuck out to me, and I want to back up to it, and it may sound simple, but I think when you say aggressive efforts, I think that's important, because you're going to have, if you haven't learned by now that you will have to be aggressive in order to get what's fair, then you haven't been paying attention, because that's what's going to have to happen.
I think that we've used this word aggressive, and I've used it in a healthy way rather than in a negative way. I think that it's important to understand that he who wants milk should not sit himself down in a pasture and wait for the cow to back up to him. You have to go after what you want. And, in this situation, the insurance company, whether you like them or not, they're in the business of making a profit, and it's your burden to demonstrate that you're entitled to recover money. And until you prove your right to recover money, they don't have an obligation to pay you. There's all kinds of arguments about their duties to come out and inspect and do things, but fundamentally, all of the listeners need to understand that it is your burden to show that you have damage, and that damage is caused by a covered event. Because everybody had damage, but was it caused by something that your insurance policy provides they'll pay for? And when you have a situation like that, and then you combine it with 100,000 or 1 million or multiple millions of claims being made on an insurance company that may have 50 adjusters instead of 5,000, or 10 adjusters instead of 5,000, and they have to massively hire all kinds of people that don't ordinarily work for the company, you can appreciate the magnitude of how long it might take for you to be able to get them to turn your way. And I think some of the listeners, maybe all of them, were not aware that when the insurance company has these mass disasters, they're not staffed up for these things. They're a company, they might have 10 adjusters or 50 adjusters. When there is 100,000 claims made, it's impossible for them to manage that. So what do? They go out and hire people who come from all aspects of the country, and we made the joke, however dark it may be, because we've seen it actually happen, that you might have a bartender, you might have somebody who doesn't have the skills, who's immediately trained to do something from some other state to come out and visit your property. And so you don't necessarily have in every circumstance a total expert going out to your property. And so, you have that combined with people rightfully trusting, that the insurance company is going to fully and quickly and expeditiously review your claim and pay you every dollar you're entitled to. And that just doesn't happen for any number of reasons, good or bad. And so when you put that kind of combination together, it creates a natural delay. And then on top of that, most people don't even know what's in their policy, or they've never been through this process. And so as a result, they're not sure what to ask for. They're a little bit timid about, what it is that they think they can get or can't get. And so you get this frustration that you and I talked about in week one after the storm of, they hope and wait and pray, say, oh, they don't need a lawyer. Then you got people feeding into this virus of doom by saying, hey, you don't need a lawyer. You need, we'll handle this. We're a roofer. We're a public adjuster. Lawyers are awful and they're terrible. And then what happens is after 3, 4, 5 months, I see it after every storm, then all these people come to us, because we are really the first line of defense, not the last line of defense, or the first line of attack, not the last line of attack. And so what happens is this has created a lot of delays. Then you combine some unscrupulous vendors out there, and maybe even some unscrupulous, lawyers and public adjusters and other people who are taking advantage of people, and just creates an unfortunate situation for everyone. And that's why you and I have tried throughout this to try to give sensible, good, intelligent advice that has credibility, integrity, and validity behind it, so that people can rely on that and get good things. You and I talked about this a long time ago, that if the one person who hired me in the neighborhood had gotten 30 of his neighbors to hire me, all 30 of them would have been paid faster than one. And so I continue to say that if you have a claim and it is being managed, in a way that you're not happy with, and you've got 14 neighbors or 1,400 neighbors, try to band together, go hire us or whoever your favorite lawyer is, and so that we can attack it from a global perspective and help you. Or if you want to do it yourself, all 14 of you in the neighborhood can learn exactly how to write the letters, exactly what to do, and do it all yourself. But at least you do it in an intelligent and efficient way, and in a way that works, and that we've proven over years or decades or whatever time period you want to say has proven to work. And I think that that's effective and a great way to empower people.
prior to the storm, do you have any numbers on how many people have ever had to actually file an insurance claim? I mean, I'm thinking that they're few. I don't think, I mean, a lot of people can go through their lives and never have to file an insurance claim, whether be it auto or home or anything. It's nice to have. You got to have it just in case. But now you're seeing it's just widespread. So now you're getting people that are dealing with a nightmare with the insurance companies, and there is, a way to do it and a wrong way to do it.
Most people have paid for decades without making a claim. Decades. If people didn't have insurance and put the same amount of money away for those decades, they would have even more money. That's not to say that people shouldn't get insurance, but what I'm explaining is that that's how the insurance companies make money. They collect premiums, and then there aren't as many claims. Nobody anticipated in the Panhandle that there would be claims made and that people wouldn't pay, promptly. It just, despite what you and I said, just nobody wanted to believe that if I don't have a roof over me, or if there's giant holes in it, or I have no windows, that the insurance company would not pay me within 7 months. It just is unfathomable for people to believe that. But what happens is that that's the nature of the business, and whether they're doing it because of neglect or because you didn't give them the right documents or they're not good people, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that they weren't paid, and this expeditious, prompt thing that we expected as human beings to happen didn't happen. And it seems to be that way after almost every storm, but it's particularly acute here, where this is a first-time event for the Panhandle, and most people did not go to lawyers as soon as they might have gone in other states, say in South Florida, where they'll go to a lawyer a lot sooner, because they understand some of the problems that have occurred. So I think it's just unfortunate, but the way we can fight back is to do 2 or 3 things. One, to do the things we're talking about in terms of filing your claims and filing your complaints and documenting letter after letter after letter, signing it, love and kisses you. And then on top of that, adding to that you go out and look at your insurance policy for the upcoming season, which is here, and say in the upcoming season, do I have sufficient insurance coverage? Do I have things that I know will make sure that if I have another storm that comes, or even just a bad rain event, that I'm covered for those things that I thought I was covered for, but I wasn't, or I didn't have enough insurance for. And third, that we're going to be vigilant. Whenever there is a claim, we are going to immediately write the insurance company and write them every day of the week if we need to, and document it with pictures and photographs and real estimates, and not wait on the insurance company to respond or not respond or stay in the dark. We're going to educate, activate, and arm ourselves.
See, there's a way to do it, and more with Scott Major coming up. I want to take a break, but when we come back, if you've got a question or even a comment, you want to get on the air and talk with Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. 850-233-9988 is our phone number. 850-233-9988. I'm going to give Scott's number out here in just a bit. Stand by.
Trying to suck less and less every day.
Ooh, you suck.
More of the Kramer Show coming up next on NewsTalk at 101.
Right now,
please welcome a man who needs no introduction.
Kramer in the morning. NewsTalk at 101. NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major is with us, attorney at law. Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. You can call up during this hour, get on the air if you want to, reserve the. You may call him after the show. 844-800-LAWS. The number 844-800-LAWS. LAWS. Scott's on the phone. Let me go to Debbie. Debbie, you're up with Scott Major. Hi. Debbie. Deb.
Litigation.
Hi. Whatever you just said, we missed. So if you could repeat it.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
We got you.
Okay. I've heard that if you do hire an attorney, that everything stops regarding insurance payments being sent to you while everything's in litigation, and that it could take a couple of years to happen. So people are kind of stuck when that happens.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the absolute nonsensical set of myths that go around in order for people to manipulate people and listeners away from lawyers. First of all, that's absolute nonsense, okay? What happens is when a lawyer gets involved, and I'll give you examples. Sometimes when I get involved, and it's happened for Panhandle listeners, when I get involved, the next day they write a check, okay? So nothing stops. Secondly, when a lawyer gets involved, especially one with a decent reputation, the insurance companies, because I used to be the chief counsel for one of them, we look up the lawyer. We find out whether the lawyer's good, because if he's good, we pay attention to him or her. So what happens is that the second that a lawyer is appointed, what happens is that they have to assign it to a law firm, generally speaking. Now that means that the insurance company has to start paying money to a lawyer. So on top of the fact that they might have to pay you, they're going to have to pay that lawyer. If I continue into litigation and I sue them successfully, they have to pay their lawyer, they have to pay the expenses associated with their lawyer, they have to pay me, and they have to pay you. So the irony is that actually cases get resolved much faster and for more money, and statistically it's been shown, for more money when lawyers get involved. Having said all that, litigation is a process, and if an insurance company has decided they're not going to pay for whatever reason, then the court is the court of last resort. And so what happens is it can take time, depending on the case, if the insurance company is not going to pay you. But if they're not going to pay you and you don't have a lawyer, you are nowhere. And so the important thing about having a good lawyer is that what they can do is they can continually remind the insurance company during this litigation that if you don't pay immediately, there are consequences. Furthermore, if the insurance company behaves in an improper way and didn't pay you when they should have, when it was reasonable and seasonable to do so, you not only can get paid your money, but you can get paid 3 times the amount of your money, plus whatever heartache, mental anguish, suffering, consequential, incidental, or other damages you have. So to me, it's almost lunacy not to get a lawyer involved as soon as practicable. But what happens is, in our system, is that you have other people who are trying to keep you from hiring a lawyer for their own personal benefit, whether that be, vendors or whether that be the insurance company who sends out things, in order to keep you from getting your max dollars. So my suggestion to you, and I would tell every listener, if you can show me anywhere in the history of mankind why a lawyer would be less successful than doing nothing, I'm really all ears to hear that. And if you have anybody who's suggesting to you that what I said is in any way inaccurate, I would love to meet them in a field of battle or in person or over a beer and try to have them explain to me how, after being involved in hundreds, thousands, God knows how many claims, how their data would show anything that I'm saying to be inaccurate. So part of this is just understanding, just like you see in the media, when the media leverages things and says things that aren't necessarily accurate in order to move a population or mislead a population. In some ways, that's what's happening in the legal world, is that they want to move people away from arming themselves with the best gun. And so you get all this nonsense going on of people saying silly, stupid things and scary things to you all, so you won't take advantage of what your true and honorable legal rights are, and that is the right to be paid on an insurance contract that you graciously and properly and timely paid for years or decades.
All right. I have one more question. I was canceled a week ago because I cannot live in my home. They just sent me a letter and sent me back my payment for the insurance and canceled me. Is that legal? Because they're saying the house is vacant?
An insurance company cannot cancel you as a result of you filing a hurricane claim or a property damage claim until that year policy has finished. So somebody doesn't have to renew you, but they generally can't cancel you. I don't know the specific circumstances of what they did. It sounds improper, but my suggestion is that what you should do is, when you hang up, is to call the 844-800-LAWS number, get them a copy of that letter that shows the insurance, being canceled, and allow us to help you. And if you're not in your home because they aren't paying, then we need to really take some quick and strong action against them to maximize your ability to receive your insurance proceeds.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Debbie, I'm going to give...
Have a great day.
Debbie, the number to call him off the air, and I really suggest that you do so, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Debbie.
Great day.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that somebody's having to go through that. Oh, my Lord, we hear every kind of story known to man. And I tell you, talking to you over these past several months, I've learned that I don't think I want to own a home and have insurance. I want to rent forever. It's such a nightmare. All right, look, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back more with Scott. So if you got a question, let him up. He's going to be in the studio. What day are we having you in the studio next week, Scott?
I'm here on Wednesday and Thursday live, in person, signing motivational books, signing T-shirts, talking to people, because I'm here for you guys.
All right, we'll be back. Stand by.
This is the Kramer Show on the Good Old Boy Network. NewsTalk at 101. NewsTalk at 101.
You will go out and say somebody's an idiot if they're being stupid.
I like the way that they report, like the news. I think it's really unbiased.
It's not like all talking, boring stuff. Yeah, so it's funny.
Just says some stuff that most people wouldn't say.
Back to the most listened to morning show in the Panhandle. This is the Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major's with us. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. You want to get on the air and pick his brain, 850-233-9988, 850-233-9988. Interesting guy. Smart guy, but interesting guy. Did you tour and do motivational speaking, Scott, or was that, only in the state of Florida? Did you tour the world or the country?
Yes, I have talked, I have spoken and motivated in different places around the country, and I've written 3 motivational books in addition to a couple of legal books, and really enjoyed in empowering people, everybody from over 10,000 young adults to, CEOs and business people all around. So just helping people to understand that the way that they perceive their experiences governs the way they live. And so the better way that you can process your emotions and deal with conflict and approach life in a more positive, enjoyable way, and the more that you brush away some of the minor speed bumps of negativity, the better your life will be and the more quality you can impact others with.
Do you, I was talking on the air the other day, it's a personal thing, but I worry a lot. And I was blaming my grandmother on the show because my grandmother, rest her soul, she could worry about anything. I mean, the clouds look weird. I'm going to worry. This, that, or the other thing could happen. I'm going to worry. We have a lot of worry that are in worriers right now in the Panhandle because they're trying to deal with their normal life, but at the same time as they're trying to deal with their normal life, as they go through, family issues, sons, daughters, grandchildren, trying to pay their bills, trying to work. The cost of living has gone up here. There's something to be said for the mental side of it and the psychological effects of the hurricane. People are really, it's a very difficult time. It's hard right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you 2 things. Number one, next week when I come and visit, I'm going to bring up a box of magnets that I have had made. And those magnets have a saying on them. And the saying is, worrying is like paying debt on a loan you may not owe. Let me repeat that. Worrying is like paying debt on a loan you may not owe. If you worry, and it turns out that you shouldn't have worried, you wasted your time. Mm-hmm. And if you worry, and it turns out you should have worried, you wasted your time. So when you recognize that the best antidote to worrying is to get intelligence, because worrying is based on doubt. It's based on a concept that I don't understand what might happen. So if you get the evidence of what happened, or you anticipate what could happen and plan for that, then it calms the nerves And it tends to make you understand that my focus would be better placed on living today and then planning for the future rather than worrying about it. You tend to have a better approach. And that's significant because, people's desire and people's goals and the way you feel is often governed, by the way you live. So if you have a perspective that is, I'm not going to let the small stuff bother me and it's all small stuff, then what happens is I focus more on living today, enjoying my life, loving my family, and doing the best I can to be the best person I can be. Then what happens is you tend to wash away those things. They become less important. And when you have a concern, the concern doesn't seem to be as heavy. I live my life in a light way, and that is that I might be intense in the courtroom. I might be running around trying to help save the world. But at the same time, I don't let anything bother me. Even the worst things, I just don't let them bother me because if there's a problem, I just try to address the problem. I try to solve the problem. I try to approach life that way. And I think that that's a good perspective. And when I'm there next week, I'm going to have those magnets, that box, brought up for anybody who shows up. I'll sign motivational books. I'll answer questions. I'll talk about politics, whatever the listeners want, whatever the attendees want, and whatever your favorite restaurant, we will stay there as long as necessary and continue to empower people and change their lives. And as it relates to the storm, the most important thing for you all to recognize is those of you that are suffering from stress, the best thing you can do to get rid of that stress is to get empowered, get either a lawyer involved or get some more intelligence so you can understand how to move forward and recognize that this is a horrible thing that happened to you. And hopefully we can band together as a community and solve some of these problems prospectively. If there's another storm coming, let's work with our community officials, with our government. Let's invite guys like Scott up here now to talk to your government about how to pre-plan. What are some of the things you can do to what we call load in before a storm so you can bring all the water in ahead of time. You can bring the trucks in ahead of time. You can have, access to RVs and other things ahead of time. How do we go to do the planning so that the next time this happens, even in small fashion, even if it's not a Category 5, we're much more prepared, we're much more comfortable, and so when something happens, we have much less reactive time and much more proactive time.
Yeah, gosh, I've got 1,000 questions. Let me go to Steve, though, and get Steve on. Steve, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
How you doing today?
Very good, sir. I signed with a public adjuster about 6 months ago, and they've not been able to get anywhere with my insurance company, so I actually retained your office about a month ago to help me with this matter. And I was just curious if you could just give me a brief idea of the steps now that your office will take to try to get me, the money that I deserve from the insurance company.
Sure. So what happens is the first thing we do is within a day of you getting retained, we generally write to the insurance company and let them know that we are now taking over the case and they should deal with us. The next thing we do is to make sure that you have a valid estimate that's from someone on your side. That is, somebody who goes out and does not just necessarily a one-page, you need your air conditioner fixed, but more of a detailed estimate that tracks what materials are needed, what labor's involved, how much it's going to cost to repair or replace certain items. We will contact you if there are contents that you need to list for us that were damaged in the storm. We then send that out to the appropriate adjuster. We then call the adjuster and ask the adjusters, hey, listen, where are we on this? What is the problem with your payment? We try to identify what specific issues that they're willing to agree to and not. If they'll agree to some of the items, we try to get a partial check cut. If they don't agree to those items, we try to find out from them what is the scientific, factual, or documentary basis as to why it is that you're not paying so that we can articulate that. If they fail to cooperate, we file a complaint with the state, which notifies them that what they're doing is not appropriate, not proper, that they're denying this based on a lack of reasoning or a lack of science or a lack of regard for your interests. And then we proceed forward with suit if we have to. If we have to file suit, what happens is they then get served with the suit, and they have to hire a lawyer to defend them. and litigation proceeds. Depending upon who the adjuster is, how strong your case is, what the insurance company has done on their side in terms of whether they've agreed that there are some damages or whether they're asserting a coverage defense, determines the progress of the case. Occasionally, you have situations where there's an alternate dispute resolution vehicle, something called appraisal, that gets elected either by you or the insurance company, and that is a method by which you can get a faster result, but you may get less money by going and having third parties. You have an appraiser, and they have an appraiser. Each person pays for their own appraiser, and it's almost like a hiring a professional to go out and do an estimate for you, and they go meet with the other professional. And if those two agree, then that's the loss, and you don't have to go through lengthy court proceedings. The downside to appraisal is some people think that appraisals will yield a lower return on the ultimate award.
Right.
I'm being a little simplistic, but the concept is that that's usually what happens. And that's sort of a partial business decision and partial psychological decision, because there are insurance companies that like appraisal. Most of them don't, because it does require them to pay sooner. And oftentimes when you have a Category 5 loss like this is, it's harder for them to take the position that there's no damage to your home, different than, say, Hurricane Irma, which in different parts of the state didn't create the kind of damage that it created in the Panhandle. So there's some tactical things that some insurance companies don't want appraisals. We have probably half a dozen to a dozen of those appraisals out of the hundreds and hundreds of claims, I suppose. But what I'm saying to you is that whether we have 1,000 claims in our office or 3 of them, the process is essentially the same. And it's just, we hope that we can expeditiously leverage what data you do have, and to hopefully get your claim resolved quickly as possible. I recommend on your side that if for whatever reason you are not updated, you pick up a phone, because you could call us anytime. If you don't hear from us in a week or 2 weeks, and you think that we haven't written you, or if we have written you and you don't understand it, you just pick up a phone. The people at our office, the whole team is really super nice people, super smart. You can call many times and say, hey, what's going on with my claim? Hey, I haven't heard from you in a week or 2 or whatever. Sometimes we have to wait on the insurance company. Like they might want to set up a reinspection. It might take weeks to do that. But we have no problem with getting as many calls as anybody wants at any time of the day or night, and we're happy to help you and get that kind of information to you, so you have some sense of comfort about not only the claim, but that it's moving in the direction you want it to move.
Yeah, I've spoken with the lady there at your office, and they were really nice and helpful. As far as anything to do on my part, the insurance company came out, they write an estimate. Well, then the public adjuster comes out and they wrote their own, estimate or whatever, and it was probably, I don't know, $170,000 higher than what the insurance company wrote. Do I need to go out and seek out contractors to come over and look at the damage and write me estimates, or is that estimate that the adjuster wrote sufficient enough to, for your team to do their part?
Sure. So the estimate is a great start. We can use the estimate to negotiate the claim. It's always helpful if you have a contractor or two to go out there and say, I have looked at your damage, and I completely agree with every dollar of that estimate, or the public adjuster missed this, or I think he should take this off. I can do this particular repair in this room for $30 less or $200 less. So, yes, it's helpful if you have a general contractor vendor. We don't usually push this upon our people, but if you want to go the extra mile and really maximize your claim, absolutely get the general contractor of your choosing to go out there and tell you, or a roofer, or both, to go out there and tell you, this is what I completely agree with this, or this is how I would adjust the estimate, and they just do a detailed estimate tracking the exact report that's been done by the estimator, if you follow what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, I understand completely. Okay, well, that'll be my next step then, and I'll just go from there and wait to hear from your office, and we'll see what happens.
That sounds great. Call us anytime, and thanks for the confidence in our firm. We really appreciate it. Make sure everybody in your block is doing the same thing.
Don't worry. I'll spread the word. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Be well.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yes.
You know, it's unbelievable to me, you know, to even hear, and I know this is the truth, but I mean, it's amazing that you have to go ahead and get a lawyer before and threaten a lawsuit before the insurance company will unclog the wheel.
Awful.
And it's unbelievable. You mentioned, sorry, go ahead, bud.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you mentioned earlier that, you know, preparing for another storm. Preparing for another storm, you know, we're going to talk about this next week, and I think it's going to be a couple of fantastic shows, and we'll give you the days and times as we get closer to them and make sure that you know when Scott's going to be in the studio. But, I mean, when it comes to preparing as a city for another hurricane after Hurricane 5, let's say we get a 2 or a 3 that blows in, it's going to be on another level. It's not going to be like normal having a Category 2 or 3 come in because we have so many people here that are living in campers and tents. It's just going to be unreal. But how do you handle at this moment, and I know that you're going to talk about it when you come, but I want to get a preliminary, probably abbreviated answer to this question. As a homeowner or business owner, how do you prepare for another storm, for an upcoming storm just after we've gone through one and you've had to deal with claims that are crazy? And is that process now more difficult to do, or is it fairly simple?
I recommend that every single person who's listening to this radio show and every person who you know, okay, so if you're a listener, every person you know, you tell them that if your insurance claim has not been paid, that you make sure you or your lawyer writes a letter to the insurance company that says, we have another storm coming. You know, we have another season coming. You need to make sure that you pay our claim prior to the next rainstorm, because if not, you're going to be saddled with the responsibility of having to pay for whatever damage occurred by that storm, and it may complicate or make the situation even worse, number one. Number two, it's important for people to start thinking about, well, what kind of protections do I have in place? What am I going to do about property that hasn't been repaired yet? What am I going to do about the fact that I'm living in an RV or in a tent or in a trailer? How do I take protective measures? And you're going to have to figure out whether or not you need to move, whether you're going to have an escape plan, whether or not you need to change your insurance to make sure it covers your new RV or whatever it is that your different accommodations, cover, so that you make sure you have sufficient coverage. And then we need to make sure that we take steps as a group to think about what were the problems that we saw in terms of what we visually inspected, like all the extra debris and things, and how do we plan in the future to make sure that infrastructure is better, to make sure that when we have after a storm, we can get more quickly relief. I can tell you right now that everybody who has listened to this radio show, 6 minutes after the storm is going to call me, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's because that's what they need to do. But we need to also get our city officials. I went to every city and tried to say, let me come to you. Let me do speeches and seminars to educate people as early as possible. I'm not trying to make a buck. I'm trying to educate and empower people. I'll do it. You don't have to even use my firm name, or you could say it's all the cities putting it on. You could put me in a plastic bag so that nobody can see who I am and cut holes in it, so that all you do is hear from me. But the concept is I'll stand behind a wall, and talk into a mic. Let everybody hear what are the things they can do immediately to expeditiously get it out there. We also should think about how we bring in vendors that are qualified vendors. And maybe our city and our county and our counties should band together and deal with a set of reputable vendors that we know can come in after a storm and help people in a more global sense. So there are lots of things. I could go on for an hour telling you there are lots of things that if you plan these things out, if you have outlets for what people should do after a storm, and it's centralized, and we have all the storm data and the FEMA data immediately available, it'll be great.
Scott, more to come with Scott Major next. Stand by.
You think it, he says it. More Kramer Show, next on NewsTalk 101.
It's the Kramer Show. It's News Talk at 101. Scott Major joining us this hour. Their phone number to get in contact with them off the air is 844-800-LAWS. 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 Scott's going to be here next week. He'll be in the studio. Then we're going to have an appearance. We'll let you know exactly where that will be. And that'll be nice because you can meet Scott face to face. You guys, when somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I got a public adjuster. They're not, they've done their thing. They're not getting any having any luck with the insurance companies." Timeline on once you get involved, you get the wheels in motion. Does it take a little while, or is it fairly soon?
It depends a lot on what kind of claim you have and whether you have coverage. Generally speaking, I've had claims resolved within 1 day of me getting involved, and I've had claims that I have in suit now, that have been, quite a few months before we get it resolved. Depends on what your specific damages are. Are they covered by your insurance policy? What kind of documents did you have when I got the case? But generally speaking, the most important thing for all of you to have is to make sure you have documented estimates. You have some sort of, roofer, general contractor who's done an estimate for you, that you make sure you have all your photos, together and saved, that you've contacted the insurance company and you have some documentation from them so that we can more quickly get out there and get a resolution, as opposed to many people didn't even have their own estimate done. And so we then have to schedule an estimate to go out there and then start that process. But it can be very fast when we have the ammunition, because when you're knowledgeable and I'm calling on the phone and they know I know what I'm talking about, they'd rather pay than pay a lawyer and maybe have to pay 2 or 3 times that amount.
Right, which I think is important to say. I mean, your ultimate goal is not necessarily to sue. It's just that you're going to say, exactly. "Look, here's what was." And to me, I've said this a million times, but I'm kind of a black and white person. This is what it says. This is what I've paid in my premium, and this is what I'm entitled to. Pay me my money. Write the check. Let's go. Let's get on down the road.
I wish we didn't have to sue at all. I wish I could get on the phone and talk logic with these people, and nobody had to sue. Listen, just because we're lawyers doesn't mean we want to sue. We want to help these people get their contracts honored, and that's the goal. But suing, tragically, is what motivates these people to pay sooner, and that's just the way it is, and we're just not going to give up, on the residents of Panama City, the Panhandle, and any of those counties up there by lying down and allowing you not to get paid what you absolutely deserve.
The phone number to get in contact with Scott off the air, 844-800-LAWS, and you can look them up, too, online at stormhelpteam.org. Stormhelpteam.org, 844-800-LAWS. Scott, have a fantastic rest of your week, and I look forward to hanging with you next week. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, thanks for all you do. Really appreciate it. I'll see you next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, my friend. Have
Absolutely.
a great day, great weekend.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you soon, my friend. There you go. Scott Major from Major Parúas in the Storm Help Team. Good guy, smart guy, a motivated guy, and somebody who can really, really help you get the insurance the insurance companies to get off their hands and do something. Again, 844-800-LAWS. Hour 3 coming up. Stand by.
More of the Kramer Show next. News Talk at 101.
It's super duper.